Hello and welcome to another episode of the Latino World Travelers Virtual Travel Party. Here we have with us today Sylvia. So Sylvia, introduce yourself and tell us what is the story behind your picture.
Okay, well, I will begin by sharing my screen. Let's get this party started.
I'm loving the graphics and the colors.
Thank you. Can everyone see?
Yes, perfectly.
Wonderful. Okay.
Yes.
So, kia ora! My name is Sylvia, and today I am here to talk to you about why I feel so at home in Aotearoa. And I'm very intentional about it being Aotearoa, which most of you know as New Zealand. I'm going to focus on the Aotearoa aspect of New Zealand, which was really about Māori culture, Māori language, Māori everything. So kia ora, that's one of the very first things that you will hear anyone say to you if you are in New Zealand, sometimes whether or not they're Māori. Hey, kia ora, kia ora. Māori culture is alive and well in both New Zealand and the Cook Islands. The difference is that in the Cook Islands, Māori language, they would say kia orana. They're pretty much distant cousins over there. So Aotearoa itself, let's see if you can guess what it actually means by the picture that is shown in front of you.
Maybe island?
Okay, there's islands.
Something with the air, Aotearoa.
Air, okay.
Sky and land. And
landscape? View?
sky something. Sky view.
Well,
you're having us here do homework.
I know.
I love it.
I told you my educator hat came on.
I was trying to use my Latin, but it's not working.
So Aotearoa is literally translated as land of the long white cloud. You have the clouds here, and this is really taken at one of the high points in Auckland back in 2014. Whether it's a typical day or not, I can't tell you. I happened to be there in September of 2014, and that was the view I got. Being from Los Angeles, it's not one I get to see every day, although I am seeing it more nowadays here with COVID-19 and cars staying off the roads. We have a map here of both the North Island and the South Island. I'm going to concentrate a lot on the North Island, and you'll hear why in a minute. And okay. I wanted to share with you something that every time I listen to takes me back to Aotearoa and everything that it really embodies, the spirit of Haere Mai, which is welcome in Māori. This is artist Dave Dobbin, and this song came out in 2006, which is the first time that I visited New Zealand. It's a couple of minutes. Pay close attention to the lyrics.
I can hear it.
You can't hear it? Is it better? Oh, it's because I have my earphones on.
Tonight I am feeling for you under the state of a strange land. You have sacrificed much to be here. Therefore, the graces I offer my hand. Welcome home. Bid you welcome. I bid you welcome. Welcome home. From the bottom of my heart. Out here on the edge The empire is fading by the day, and the world is so weary more. Maybe we'll find a new way. Welcome home. See, I made a space for you now. Welcome home. From the bottom of our hearts. Welcome home. From the bottom of our hearts. Keep it coming now.
I love that whenever they do that kind of stuff.
You'll find most of us here with our hearts wide open. Keep it coming now. Keep it coming on. Keep it coming on. Keep it coming on. There's a woman with her hands trembling high and high. And she sings with the mountains every high and high. There's a cloud before and these eyes just playing chase with the sun. And it's black and it's white and it's wild. All the colors are one. So welcome home. Bid you welcome. I bid you welcome. Welcome home. See, I've made a space for you now. Welcome home. From the bottom of our heart. From the bottom of our heart.
So that is the welcome that I feel anytime there's mention of Aotearoa.
Very nice.
I have spent a total of 5 weeks over the course of 8 years in Aotearoa. My first two visits, in fact, were for work. Once upon a time, I was a Spanish teacher in Hong Kong, and we had something in the fall called Project Week, where we would take our students to any number of places. And as fate would have it, I got in the last minute, my very first year, on this coveted space to the New Zealand trip. And it was focused on Māori culture. Yes, we did a lot of the exciting, adventurous things that New Zealand is known for. And we were based in Rotorua. And Rotorua is known to some people as Roto Vegas, because that's so many Vegas type activities. But also, if we look at it from the point of view of the US, it would kind of be like New Mexico is to the US, the heart and soul of indigenous people. I went again in 2007, also because I loved it so much. I made sure that I was leading the trip to New Zealand so I could go back. And then I loved it so much, I went to the South Island in 2008 for personal reasons. And then when I finished my contract in Hong Kong, I took a month off and went to the South Pacific. 2 weeks of those I spent in New Zealand. All of these visits have been very, very personal, and I'll explain more as to how that came about. One of the first things that drew me in even before we went to New Zealand. As we were preparing our students to go, we knew that because we were going to stay on a marae, which is the sacred communal space of Māori people,
Mm-hmm.
in order to be given access to the marae, we were going to go through something that's called a boferi, and I will share that with you a little bit later. And in order to take part in this boferi, we needed to know our own whakapapa. So what you see here, the WHA, that's a fa sound.
Mm-hmm.
And the whakapapa is your genealogy. It's your line of descent. So this is one of the very first things that already drew me to Māori culture. I was brought up as the daughter of the historian of my family. My papi can tell you who the great, great, great grandparents are, what they did, where they're from. And this spoke to me in a way that already I felt connected. So the whakapapa has multiple layers to your descent. Now, the picture on the right is made for school. So you see that there is a school option down towards the middle. It varies, but what is important is that when you say your whakapapa, that you are clear. You cannot mess up. Traditionally,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, back a few centuries ago, if you were to mess up your own whakapapa, that was a reason to be killed.
Oh, wow.
So as we were trying to instill the importance of this to our students, we had them do their own whakapapas. So you can think about the mountains that are near you, the rivers, the body of water that you're connected to. In our culture, or my culture necessarily, I don't have a canoe per se, or even a type of boat. Since doing my DNA ancestry, it was confirmed that I am Indigenous Central and South American. My family is from Guatemala and from Ecuador.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have claim to that. My marae, my tribal land, because I am from Los Angeles, I would claim Los Angeles. My ahau, well, again, I'm from a particular place in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can go through our kanya ilanai, which is your place you live now. Your whānau, we're going to go through, is not only family, but it's your extended family.
Okay.
Your matua and your fae, your parents. And notice that the very, very last thing when you introduce yourself in your whakapapa is you. Because all of these things, you are grounded in your manga, in your awa, in your waka. You have this history. And I'm going to share this presentation with everyone, and you can watch this short clip of the significance that the whakapapa has for the Māori people.
So the W and H is pronounced like pho because you say whānau,
Yes.
and then you say fae.
Yeah.
Fae?
So yeah, fa'e, fa. So in Māori language, we they say everything the same way that we do in Spanish. If you see it, then you pronounce it. Okay.
Mm.
So that's why you have the whakapapa, manga. So that NGA is mong, like a sound. So manga, awa, waka, iwi, marae, ahau, kainga, inalanai, whānau, matua, whaea, ingoa.
So it's easy to learn it, the language.
It's very
in
easy.
terms of pronunciation.
Yes, see, my people understand. This is one of the very first things when I met some of the Māoris. They're like, wow, your pronunciation's so good. I'm like,
Yeah.
I already speak Japanese and Spanish, and so it's very, very similar. And they even
And then you're from Guatemala and Ecuador. Wait, how did you learn Japanese? Explain that to us.
That's another virtual travel party.
And then you lived in China, like you said too. Like,
exactly.
you're full of surprises.
There is no one way to be Latina. So when you have this and you're presenting this, if you look on the right hand side, it's tena kotu katoa, ko your mountain, tokumanga. And you go through this whole thing at the very end, then you say, Noreira, tena kotu, tena kotu, tena tatu
Tatatu.
katoa.
Katoa.
Mm-hmm. And so that's when you're really greeting everyone in front of you.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds cool.
So then we have the
Oh, I
marae.
went there.
The rotafio, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
very popular, it's one of the living maraes that welcome outsiders. So rotafio, it's in Tupui. Somebody was asking about the pictures. So my first visit was in 2006, where Facebook and I were barely getting acquainted. Trust me, I scoured high and low in my computer and my Facebook, my friends' Facebook pages, my phones. I could not get back to 2006. So I did take many pictures off the internet. But this is it. This marae, what we experienced there. The closest I can say that it would be like a reservation.
Mm-hmm.
Same, but different, if you will. But there is someone, if you are a Māori, then you're connected to a marae forever. No matter if you leave, if you move, it doesn't matter. You will always have a claim to that marae. The pofuri, so here we have that WHI again. So that WH is that F sound. So you have the pofuri. So in the pofuri, this is a welcome ceremony. In the song that we heard, Dave Dobbin talked about there's a woman with her hands trembling, Haere mai, right? Women, there's the elder, the eldest woman, she would be the one who gives you the welcome. So in the entire ceremony, there's the korero is some type of speech. It could include your whakapapa. The kanikani is the dance. The waiata is the music. And the hongi is what you see here in the picture. So it's the noses that are touching. What's important about the noses that touch is that it's you sharing your breath, your life, and you're sharing it with another person. So it's a very intimate, very sacred way of greeting one another.
Is that what we see when we see like in the airports and like a family is waiting for a family member to arrive and then they do this whole ritual kind of thing? Is that this?
They do the haka, which I'll show in a moment. The haka can be done at any special occasion. So those are the welcomes that you see. Once the haka is done and the welcome is done, then you would see most likely an elder. It can be the grandparent, the parent, and then they would come together and greet each other with the hongi.
Okay.
And it doesn't only have to be them. If you and I were to see each other, we could greet each other with a hongi as well.
Okay.
Now, food is very important in my Latina side of the world, and so it is in the Māori culture. Staying on the marae, we got to experience multiple times how to prepare a hangi. And I wanted to distinguish between the hongi and the hangi. So the hongi is the noses touching here at the top, and the hangi has to do with food. So this is preparing food in the ground, and it is as close to Mother Nature basic as you can get. There's not a lot of adobo seasoning, it's not Goya filled. They really take ingredients from the earth. You have yams, you can have regular potatoes, you do take your meat, you can take your vegetables, a lot of, so what we would think of roasted vegetables,
That makes
you just
me hungry.
yes, absolutely. But notice, this is definitely not food for one. the hangi in and of itself is a communal gathering food item.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing that drew me to Māori culture and that made me feel so at home. By the time I visited New Zealand in 2006, I had already lived abroad or lived away from my family for the better part of 13 years.
Wow.
And to come into a place where community was so important. Now, I loved my time in Asia, and there's a lot of community, a lot of family time within Chinese culture. But the way that it was expressed was very different to how I was brought up in my Latinidad.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the touchy-feely, kiss, hug, that none of that really took place. And so to come into a culture where it was about family, it was about your marae, it was about your iwi, which is your tribe, your people,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know how much I missed this.
Oh.
And so to that extent, I mean, it's really my whānau. And whānau, we have it. How many of you call people that you have no blood relation to your tia, your tío, right? Your prima?
Mm-hmm.
That's the same concept. Your whānau or ohana in Hawaiian is your familia. It's your extended familia.
Mm-hmm.
And so here I share with you my Chinese whānau.
Mm-hmm.
I met Guan here in the middle in Hong Kong, and I ended up staying with her and her family for 2 weeks in 2014. My Māori boys, Rawari and Tuk, I met them in 2006. They're phenomenal human beings who really shared their culture with me. And down here we have the Pakeha. And the Pakeha are essentially white New Zealanders. And on the right bottom, even more of a connection, the mom in the picture is from California. She's Anglo-Mexican. Got married to Nick, who, although he's Pakeha, is very rooted in Māori culture. They live in Rotorua, and their entire family ran the company that we used my first 2 visits to New Zealand, Multi-Day Adventures. The girls have grown up in Māori schools, and so they're really connected to the maraes in Rotorua as well. And then on the bottom left, you have my Pakeha friends. They live in Waiheke Island outside of Auckland. I met Maureen at my school in Hong Kong. And once she and her husband moved back to New Zealand, I got a chance to catch up with them. And not pictured here are her daughter and son-in-law and their kids, who are Chilean and New Zealand. So really, I bring all this up because people have different experiences in New Zealand, but much like the song that I played in the beginning, it really is a multicultural place. And that to me is what home is. I grew up in LA in a very multicultural church and school, and my entire life has been about being multicultural. And so to have that base of community, of being rooted in who you are, all while being in this wonderful place that coincidentally is the same longitude or latitude as California is, but in the Southern Hemisphere.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it, we're like a mirror. So there's so much of New Zealand that is home for me on so many fronts.
Which part do you like the most, the North Island or the South Island?
Oh, that's so tough. My instinct is to say the North Island, more more so because I've spent more time there.
Okay.
And the North Island is also where there's more Māori culture.
Okay.
The South Island, that is adventure heaven. You have Mount Aotearoa, which is Mount Cook. That is spectacular. I have not done the glaciers yet. Nature and I are friends to a degree. I've not gone to the glaciers as of yet because our friendship has not evolved so much. However, I mean, hot springs, you have bungee jumping. The home of bungee jumping is in Queenstown, which I did get to visit in my 2008 trip. And being able to stay with these families has also meant that the money that I saved on lodging, I was able to rent a car, I was able to drive, take a day trip, and see the country, and really live like a local. And it's also so easy to drive in New Zealand, even though it's on the other side of the road. And I did almost go the wrong way. I may have started turning into the wrong lane coming out of a gas station, but I quickly turned. The thing is, because there's no cars, if you see other cars, you kind of follow other cars, but there's more sheep than people in New Zealand.
Oh my God. Next thing you know, you were going to be like right across from another car.
Exactly. And so aside from all of this culture, now I'm showing you hip hop and R&B from the time that I first went. If you talk to any millennial or young person in Aotearoa now, they may know Scribe, they may know Nesian Mystic, but this is definitely nearly 20 years ago, so keep that in mind. And something that is universal, if you've not seen a haka performed, it is absolutely breathtaking. The history behind the haka is really, it was something that people did for when they went into war. And so it was supposed to intimidate your opponent. And that's why you see a lot of this going on, a lot of this going on, which, you know, in our culture might mean something else, but in Māori culture, it does not. And
by the way, that's my husband's favorite team, All Blacks.
The All Blacks?
The rugby team, yeah.
The All Blacks.
He has his sweater, and everywhere he wears it, everybody always like, oh my God. They always point him up.
Yes. Oh wait, sorry, going back. Oh no. Okay, so yeah, so with the haka, it's been adopted into sporting events now, which is something major. When you think about what happened with colonialism and how the Māori were treated, very much like our indigenous people here in the US, but Māoris found a way to have a resurgence in their culture and their language in the 80s. And it's officially a bilingual nation. New Zealand English and New Zealand Māori are the two official languages of Aotearoa. And that's why saying, oh, Aotearoa versus New Zealand is not derogatory. It literally either or. If you look at any document, you will have both languages represented. There's Māori TV. And one thing that I didn't get a chance to share on here is Polynesian culture is huge in New Zealand. Aside from Māori, you have a lot of Samoans and Tongans and other people from the South Pacific. And they came out with a cartoon in, I want to say probably about 2009, 2010, it's Brotown. And that too, I found myself just really identifying with this idea of brown pride in New Zealand. I grew up in a time where Latinidad did equal brown pride, and I know that that's not the case nowadays, but from a place of this is how I grew up, I was like, yeah, brown pride, you know, well then. So I just really identified. And I've been fortunate enough to also use this passion for Aotearoa to write about Kiwi culture and Māori culture, both online with Griot's Republic and the tamoko culture. So those are the tattoos that are on the face.
Mm-hmm.
The tattoos, I mean, it's intense. You're talking about traditional mokos are one, they are assigned to you. You do not choose your moko. You don't
And
choose the place on your body. The tattoos are permanent, absolutely. Now, you will see in different cultural performances, the women are tattooed, they have their moko on their face. The men will be tattooed. Not all of those will be real. Although there is a comeback to the mokos on the face. Again, traditionally, you did not get your moko until you were assigned by an elder. For example, I have a friend, one of the Māori boys. Go back. Oh. Here we go. Raori, his son passed away a while ago, and by the time I met him, he already had his lower right calf tattooed. Now, he shared with me a story about how he actually didn't get that tattoo right away as much as he wanted it. He needed to get permission from one of his elders, who then was able to get it designed, and only in that way was he able to get his tattoo. So a lot of these tribal tattoos that we see non-Indigenous people, non-Polynesians wearing, they may not know the significance of it. So sometimes people even get offended. And you also see a resurgence of the face mokos. It depends on how connected people are to the culture, what they're feeling. I was talking to someone today who, not because they're Polynesian, but they're really attracted to wanting their whole body to be tattooed. Wow. And the only reason they don't have their face and their head tattooed is because they would most likely be fired.
Oh, wow.
Where that wouldn't be the case in Māori culture, because
there is still that stigma.
Well, this is here in the U.S.
Oh, here in the U.S. Okay.
If you're Māori, potentially, I mean, think about what industry and what people's perceptions are. But if you're full Māori and not dealing with those industries, then that may not be a concern, right? Everyone has their own ideas about that. But yes, so the haka is performed at special occasions. You can see it at funerals. There have been a lot of videos on welcomes at airports, weddings. And so for someone who has never seen it, it may seem rough and scary even, until you really start understanding the nature of the haka and the importance. I was fortunate enough to be part of a Kiwi Māori group in Hong Kong. And the hangi, I mean, where is there space in Hong Kong to actually put food in the ground? I mean, we barely have room for people. They ended up using kegs, empty kegs of beer, and made up a hangi. And they also had a dance group to be able to showcase the culture. And one thing that is still very traditional within Māori culture are gender roles to an extent. So when you see a haka, the ones who are actually looking like the rugby players here, they're always going to be men. Women traditionally dress in skirts and tops, and they do the poi. If you've seen any, even in Thailand, they have the long strings with the ball at the bottom, and then they start
Can you do that?
Yes.
Mm.
Are you familiar with those?
I think I've seen them, but I
Yeah.
have to look
So
it up.
the women do more of the dances with the poi, and so it's very skillful because they have to coordinate two long strings with a ball at the bottom in order to not hit each other, not hit themselves. So Aotearoa feels like home to me because of all the reasons I've shared: genealogy and identity, respect above all else, the feeling of comunidad and familia.
So
And I am open to questions.
These are
I can,
the poi that you were talking about, right?
yes, I will. Yeah, I can share with you.
And also
Yeah.
the tattoos that you were talking
The
about.
moku? Oh yeah, I'll show you.
Yeah, this is another, the tattoos. And how they stand their tongue all the way out.
Oh yeah, I'll show you. I'll place them for you. Let me see.
Now, where in New Zealand would you recommend we go if we're gonna travel there? What should we prioritize? Because it's like super cultural.
Okay, I don't know what happened. Oh, there's okay. Here we go. Let's see. To go. I think if you're an adventure traveler, then the South Island is definitely the place to be. If you want a little bit more culture in terms of Māori culture, then the North Island is definitely the place for you. I think there's also different events throughout the year. So if you're into BMX biking, there will be some sort of competition for that. If you're into rugby, then try out rugby season. Obviously, to get into a rugby game, to see the All Blacks in Auckland, I think that would be a place to go and a time of year to go. One thing to know though, during holidays, I found out the hard way. And if you're there for Easter, all that jazz, the country shuts down. So make sure you are prepared. Make sure you have your food necessities on lock during a holiday. Any sort of what we would consider a federal holiday. I mean, we're here, the president's talking about going back to work on Easter, right? Or during Easter. I mean, I was there during Easter 2008 and did not even think twice about whether or not I would be able to get food at a restaurant, when all of a sudden we start driving and driving, more and more things are closed. Not really sure what we're gonna do. And come to find out, the country shuts down entirely.
Yeah. How is the conversion of the money? Is it like good? Is it worth, like, is it more? Is it worth less? Is it the same?
I think at the last time I went, the US dollar was a little bit stronger.
Okay.
Remember, New Zealand is to Australia as Canada is to the US.
Oh, okay.
Right? So Australia is the bigger, more populated country. New Zealand's smaller. Their economy's not as high as Australia. So that's it, if that gives you a sense.
What
are their questions?
Do you guys have any questions?
Yes.
Me. Did you ever get to visit the glowworm cave?
Yes.
Is it really like that bright in the pictures, or that like Photoshop?
They really are that bright. They really do glow miraculously.
Do the worms fall on your head or no? Because I see them like in the ceiling. I wonder, like, do they fall on your head, the worms?
No. They're just, I mean, obviously they're going to be brighter if they're more congregated. So that's all.
But
the
they
more
do not let you take pictures.
No?
I don't know how those people, I mean, when I went, they didn't let us take pictures, but you could pay for pictures, but then the pictures are like you and the fake picture in the back. I'm
yeah.
like, no way.
Oh, I didn't
Why
know
would I
that.
pay for
Bummer.
this?
I think that's one of the reasons why I've really enjoyed being with locals, because locals will show me and tell me more than, you know, what the touristy spots will do.
Mhm.
So, but I think going to Rotorua and doing all the adventure stuff, I mean, they have the not bungee jumping, but when you can go with someone else and you lie like you're in a sleeping bag and then you get to swing. It's really cool. And then they have the Zorb too, which depending on the weather, you can do the dry Zorb ball or have it wet. And that can be really, really fun. So you go to this top of the hill and then you start rolling down in a ball.
Wow.
And
What is
hopefully you're
that
able to
called?
stand. Zorbing. Let's see if I can find it.
And go down. That sounds fun.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. I'll look it up on Google for you.
Mhm.
Let's see. What else? Other questions? Now, I will say I've never read Lord of the Rings. So I've never bought into the whole Hobbit town, Hobbit, what have you, craze. However, that is absolutely a possibility. You can go to Hobbit Town. I remember driving past the sign because I went from Auckland to Rotorua, which is maybe about 3-4 hours, but I ended up stopping in Hamilton, and it's between Hamilton and Rotorua. So Rotorua is in the Otago region, and you might even be able to fly to Rotorua depending on where you're coming from. And one thing in Auckland, in all my visits, I started in 2006. I didn't go to Auckland until 2014. I just ended up being in other places in New Zealand. And two things. I've never dated so much outside of the US than I have in New Zealand. And two, the salsa dancing. Oh my gosh, it was awesome. I ended up taking my friend and I loved it. I mean, amazing. There's amazing community there for salsa, and kizomba had just kind of started taking.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it really started becoming popular right around then, I think internationally. And so there was some kizomba and salsa.
Is there an area where like all of the dance places are bars, clubs, or they're spread out?
No, they're spread out. Yeah. But the ones that they really say online are top notch. Definitely check them out. I mean, like I'm still in touch with people that I met dancing.
So what's the number one place that you went?
Oh, tanta información no, Vanessa.
Well,
this is gonna need to be the follow-up because no, and then the thing too is it changes. You know how the scene changes a lot. So I don't know. And then after all this, I don't know what's gonna happen, honestly. But they will need all our coins as soon as we're able.
They have also the chip shows. Like you go and see them in their habitat, and like you could buy products too.
The which one?
Chip, is that the animals that they have there? What is it called?
The kiwi?
No, they with the puffy, the animals that they have there that are like white. What is the name of them? Chip? Is not chip?
No, I mean I know the kiwi bird.
Like what is New Zealand known for? What animal?
Kiwi.
It's called kiwi? No.
Yeah, and that's a nocturnal bird, so they're really hard to find unless you go to a habitat. And then bees, manuka honey is huge.
You mentioned it earlier, the animal.
I did?
Yes, what is it called? Escaped my mind. Que cogen la lana de ahí.
Oh, sheep.
Sheep.
Oh,
Isn't
God.
that what I'm saying?
You would say chip, like a potato chip.
Because I don't know how to say CASH, so I said CH.
So your
Okay.
Dominican accent don't allow it.
Exactly.
Got it. Sheep, ovejas. Got it. Yes. And I'm glad I understood lana because, you know, lana in Mexican Spanish is money. So I'm like, ¿Dónde cogen la lana? Pues el banco.
No, I always tell my students, look, when I'm trying to say these words, this is what I mean. Because
Yeah.
Yeah. So you could go see them and like touch
Yeah.
them and stuff.
So there's a whole adventure park in Rotorua where you can experience what the sheep shearing is like.
Mhm.
You can do that absolutely. And
then they have like these things that are like they blow up like hot water. What is it called? And you could buy like mud for the face.
right, and so that's the other thing about Rotorua. A lot of people will go and there's a smell of rotten egg all over the city. And that's because of all the thermal hot springs.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the sulfur that really makes the city smell so rotten. And there's the Polynesian, it's a Polynesian center. It's a spa. I want to say it's a Polynesian spa. And they have about 7 hot springs you can go to. And it's all natural. They've essentially dug up holes in the ground, you know, made them pretty and whatnot, but everything's natural. They haven't produced anything.
Any questions, ladies and gentlemen?
Wait, who's been to New Zealand aside from Vanessa? Do that.
Mentally.
Yeah, I really want to go, but I haven't been there yet. I really want to. I like extreme sports, and I know New Zealand has a lot of those adventure type of adrenaline things.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes. And it's very easy. They're set up. So the thing about New Zealand, even though it's a whole country, they still have a very small town trust and mentality. And I remember telling my friends, oh my gosh, you're like the US in the 50s, where people still trusted each other. I hope you never lose this, right? The hostels are set up for backpacking. It's very, very simple if that's your jam. The RV situation is set up if that's your jam. It's really, really easy to rent an RV and just tour the country, you know, get your groceries, park at one of the RV parks. It's absolutely set up for tourism in a way that at least my part of California is not.
Oh, is it easy to rent, apart from just RVs, the little VW buses? Because that's what the Kiwi combis, I think. There's even an Instagram page I saw that they even named them.
Yeah, all of those. All that. It's just set up for that. It really is. And any of the sports that you want to think of, they're there. Whitewater rafting is phenomenal there. What else? Yeah, the bungees, the glacier trekking, all that.
I'm writing all of this because I'm like, I need to go again.
So we got to be fit when we go there.
Yep. I will be on the dance floor. You can stop by after all your trekking.
You know that when I met my husband, they introduced us through Facebook.
Okay.
And it was when I had just come from New Zealand and Australia, and his main picture, his profile picture, was at the Hobbit town. in the Hobbit house.
Oh, okay, got it.
So I'm like, oh, you went to New Zealand? Me too. I just came back. And that was my opening line.
Well, at least you knew you
Connection.
had common interest.
So be careful what you put on your profile because it could work.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. I have a friend who, before we met in person, apparently we were friends on Facebook, but I didn't know. And so when we finally did meet in person, I go, okay, well, let me add you on Facebook. And when I went to add him, he was already there. I thought, what the heck? When did that happen? And I think it was because his profile picture was in Hong Kong. And so when the friend request came or whatever happened, I was like, oh yeah, trust. It's just, yeah,
Wow.
we're connected, we're drawn to what we're drawn to.
Yes.
Well, yeah. And they make an attempt to have Mexican food. I will say they attempt. They still haven't quite got it. But I will say that the Latino population is growing. There are Chileans. Usually that's the easiest way, the Chileans and the Argentinians, just because they're both in the Southern Hemisphere. So in terms of understanding climate and just life in the Southern Hemisphere, they're acquainted. Colombians are also on the rise in New Zealand. And the top last names now are Patel and Lee.
Really?
Last time I checked.
No way.
Yeah.
And what other foods do you recommend besides the hangi?
Oh my gosh. God, if I ate gluten again. The pies, shepherd's pies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they just have, the meat pies. You can literally go to any corner of any shop anywhere in New Zealand and get a pie. And they're about this big. They're individual. They'll sell them to you. And you can get mince pie. You can get this pie. Just a pie. It's like a good, just on the road snack when you're in that kiwi combi. It's really, really good. They're big on fish and chips because colonialism. So there's that. Hokey pokey ice cream.
Wait, can you do that again? Epic.
Hokey pokey ice cream. If you talk to any New Zealander, it's one of those flavors that I am not aware of exists anywhere else. So hokey pokey ice cream, very much New Zealand. Their wines, they're very known for their wines as well. Lamb, if you're gonna do anything in New Zealand, and you're not vegetarian or vegan, yes, definitely get your lamb
Even
chops.
here in the United States, when they have New Zealand lamb chops, I get it, and it's usually the most expensive dish in that menu. But I'm like, if they have it, I'm getting it because it's very rare to find it. So, oh my God, the juiciest, medium rare lamb chops with mint jelly. Oh my God!
Look at Vanessa. She's having this meal as she explains it.
Yeah.
Oh, I think we might need to get her a room. Yes, we might need to give you your own room so you can have a moment with your lamb.
It is one of my top favorite things to eat.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And I rarely eat it because it's usually not everywhere.
Yeah. The other, not food, but the other event, if ever it comes back, it's in Wellington once a year. And it's the World of Wearable Art. Phenomenal. You wouldn't even be able to imagine some of the things that people come up with. I got to see it in Hong Kong, but I would definitely make it a bucket list item to go see it in Wellington, in the home of the creation. Yeah.
Wow. And do you know when the rugby season is? No?
Rugby season? I have no idea.
Look it up. No.
I will say that New Zealand typically participates in rugby sevens in Hong Kong, which tends to be in March, around this time, actually. Yeah, between last week and this week. And that is, of all the rugby teams, New Zealand, Fiji, Samoa are probably the top 3 rugby teams that people look forward to.
India and UK are not? Like India is not? Oh no, they're cricket. Never mind.
I was like,
My bad.
no. I just remember the hype around rugby sevens. You're like, oh yeah, you definitely want to see Samoa, Fiji, and New Zealand. Because even Australia is not that big into rugby. They're more Australian rules football. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. I'm telling you, I'm overjoyed anytime I get to talk about Aotearoa and New Zealand. Yeah.
Thank you. And you brought back so many memories, and I'm like a happy camper right now.
You're welcome.
Did you guys have any questions?
And yes, we have new whānau or ohana. Yay.
Aww. That should be a picture. All of us going like this.
Oh, okay.
that would be
Let's do it.
Girls, camera on.
Let me do it like this, like gallery. Oh wait, if I'm holding the phone, then I can. I'm gonna do it like
Let you help you to take it.
Okay, what?
Timer. Put your phone on the chest.
Oh yeah.
What?
Put the timer on and put the phone on your chest.
How am I gonna put the phone on my chest? Oh wait,
They believe in you.
And there's
wait.
in the
I have this. Wait.
Clearly, you've not taken the bra 101
gotta try
course.
that.
Right? Just like
Our new ohana.
This is too funny.
I see the meme now.
Start a new trend. Just only thing.
Give me 2 seconds. So ohana, that's it. What it's called, right?
Before there were tripods. Ohana is Hawaiian. Whānau is Māori.
No, like this family, isn't it? Like the new family.
Yeah, that's
Right.
That's
So
what
ohana is Hawaiian, and Māori is whānau. So in Hawaii 5-0, you hear a lot of people talk about "you're my ohana."
All right.
I want the picture when you take it.
Yeah, send it to us.
Come on, don't mess up my flow.
Quarantine ohana.
That's nice. Okay, so we're taking a picture or video, or
Picture or both.
We can
Picture?
do boomerang.
yeah, I was thinking boomerang too. Okay.
Even a video too, saying our new ohana too.
Oh, you want a video? Okay.
We'll do all 3. We'll do all 3.
All right. All right, guys. So this is our new ohana. Yay!
Is this a video? What is this?
Yes, a video.
Okay, start over.
Yeah.
Should we all say ohana? Let's all say ohana.
Okay, let me. Headphones. I'm not listening to you guys.
Okay.
So,
Wait, count down though, because otherwise we don't know.
okay.
Oh, when you say this is our new, then we'll say ohana.
Oh, that's cute.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. This is our new
Ohana.
The most adorable thing ever.
We are cute.
I am corny like that. We have really become like a family this day.
We see each other almost every day.
And like listening to each other's stories and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
You took a
thank you
picture?
for being here. I really appreciate it. But this is what I wanted when I built Latino World Travelers. I wanted to get us together and share our stories and see where we fit, because when I travel, I rarely see Latinos out there. So I wanted us to connect.
I will tell you.
And to get us out there in the world.
I will tell you, 11 years in Asia, and I can count on one hand the number of U.S. Latinos that I encountered. Latin Americans, yep. Spaniards, yep. But U.S. Latinos, no. People. I worked at my school for 8 years. People still wanted to know where I was from in Spain, and could I help them plan their trip to Madrid? I'm like, I've been there twice. I mean, I guess I could give you pointers.
I forget where I've heard this, where a lot of people think Mexico is right next to Spain. I'm like, no, look at a globe. Look at a map.
Wow. Yeah.
This is sad.
But that's why we're here, to teach other people, and to see, experience these countries even virtually, so one day we will go personally.
Exactly.
I am like, a mí no me gusta que me cuenten. I want to go by myself and experience it.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
Luego te cuento.
Yeah, exactly. Yo te cuento a ti, but to inspire you, and then so you could go too.
Yeah.
Kind of like to make you catch that travel bug kind of thing. And then you take off and fly like a bird.
Well, I say salsa meetups around the world. That's what I say.
Yes.
Only because like the new bachata, I'm like,
Oh, the sensual?
I'm like,
I can't do it.
anytime they ask me to dance, I'm like, mira, yo soy veterana. Yo no bailo así. Mi bachata es dominicana. Please. I'm like, I'm not doing splits in bachata. Like, it's not happening.
I do wanted to learn how to bailar el pasito duranguense.
Okay.
In quebradita. Oh my God, if I can find someone who can dance with me like that and flip me up and like to the sides and
oh, that's a good workout. Let me tell you,
yeah.
that was huge. Not duranguense, but quebradita was in banda was really big when I was in high school. Oh my gosh. I had people in my dance classes or PE classes, they come back. Oh my God.
I think it's
Me duele
free.
la espalda. I'm like, what the heck? What happened? Es que me fue a bailar banda este fin de semana. And so, yeah, it was the flips and the sides. I'm like, nah.
We couldn't hear you, Sylvia.
Mine froze.
Okay, I don't know when I froze, but I was just saying that in high school banda was huge, and girls would come back after the weekend and they're like, me duele la espalda, me duele la cadera. I'm like, what the heck happened? No, es que me fui a bailar banda este fin de semana. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And just imagine them up in the air, legs up, and I'm like, oh no, let me stay on the ground.
Yeah, I need to do it at least one time in my lifetime.
Yeah.
But yesterday I was taking a twerking class. It was hard.
I saw that.
Isolate certain parts of the body to be able to make the movement.
Yep.
Yes. Well, thank you so much again for being here and for bringing us in this journey through New Zealand. How do you pronounce it again? The name for New Zealand?
Aotearoa.
Aotearoa?
It's freezing again.
It's Aotearoa.
Aotearoa.
Aotearoa. Okay, very good. So thank you so much. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And please join us tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to do Finland.
Ooh.
Yes. So I am looking forward for it's at 11 here. So it's at
12, 1, 2 p.m. 2 p.m. Eastern.
No.
11.
Let me check.
Wait, first of all, are you in California? Let's make sure that's
yes, I'm in
11
California,
here.
But it's
Okay.
at 19. The person presenting, she said at 19 of her time. She's in Spain. So it's 8 hours difference. So that's 11.
Yeah, 11.
So 11 and 2.
Yeah.
It's at 2 p.m.
You're good.
Yes. So it's going to be Carla Tomaselli, and she's going to be presenting tomorrow.
Great.
At 2 Eastern time, 11 a.m. and 11 PST. and it's Finland. She's gonna take us to it's a town that is called in Lapland. It's frozen.
Yep.
She's gonna take us there.
Okay. With all the reindeers.
Yes, and on Sunday, remember, we're gonna watch the movie in Netflix.
Which movie?
So Orlando told us a story yesterday about a dog that belonged to a professor in Tokyo. Was it in Tokyo? And and so they recreated that story with the movie. We reached our gear.
Hachiko.
Yes, Hachi.
But it's not Netflix. Did you find it? I didn't find it.
No way. I thought it was there.
Somebody find it on Hulu.
Let me tell you, the Japanese version is way better than the Richard Gere version.
Really?
But both
What's
of
the
them
name
are like
of the Japanese version?
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. And we didn't even tell her.
What is the name of the Japanese version?
I'll have to find it, but no, I know the story. Yeah.
Oh my God.
You gotta find the movie now.
Benji? Is it Benji? No.
No.
Oh, no.
For dog movies.
Let me see.
Bear is called Benji.
So we're gonna I was thinking 2 p.m. Eastern time, 11 PST, like a brunch time kind of thing. We could just lay in the couch and watch the movie.
Let's see.
Oh my
Well,
God.
I'm going to stop recording, but we can continue. So thank you again for being here. Well, I love you all.